Welcome to Breaking Ground, a show developed to highlight the agriculture in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. Hi, I'm your host, Roger Maunder. On our opening show, we're going to visit Walter Calloway and his cranberry farm in central Newfoundland. Growing cranberries on a commercial scale in Newfoundland is a very doable proposition. You need a bog, a ready supply of water, and lots of sand. We have all of these elements in abundance, and Walter Calloway will show us how he has adapted to growing this crop. Dark Tickle is a company based in Griquet on the Northern Peninsula. At the heart of this enterprise is berries that grow everywhere on our barrens. Newfoundland and Labrador berries are the fountainhead for jams, sauces, and wines, but also an educational tour that highlights the geology, ecology, and history of the area. Steve Knudsen and his wife Gwendolyn have developed a business that can be a template for other areas of the province, all based on our highly prized blueberries, partridge berries, bake apples, and many more berries that dot our landscape. Cooking segment host Ann Budgell will be here with Chef Kitty Drake. Kitty has been promoting provincial dishes for years all across Canada. Believe me, it will be well worth your while to stay tuned to see what she has in store for us. So don't touch that remote. Put your feet up and relax. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And now we're off to Terranova in central Newfoundland to watch another chapter in the fascinating story of cranberry farming in Newfoundland.
As Newfoundland enters a new era of expansion and investments, cooperation between private enterprise and government departments is becoming a must. In the budding cranberry industry, the marriage between these two entities has proven to be very successful and beneficial to both parties. Dick Oram outlines the government's initial involvement in a developing cranberry industry.
Well, around 1997, we went out and purchased some plant material from the United States and began propagating those plants to start an industry in Newfoundland. At the same time, we started to do our site development work on sites like the one here in Deadman's Bay to have them ready to be planted. And by 1999, we put our first plants in the ground. And there's 4 producer pilot sites where we've partnered with private individuals across the province to try to establish the applied research work with this crop.
One of these private individuals was Walter Calloway of Terranova.
The province, the provincial government, the Department of Natural Resources, it was their idea in the beginning. We were told that the berries would not ripen in Newfoundland. The season is too short, so cranberries won't work here. The department didn't believe that, and we decided, they decided to try it, and they provided much of the initial funding for development, for the startup cost in the beginning. And since then, they've continued to provide us with some plant matter if we need it. We have a little bit of a COA funding coming through now to help us with more expansion. I think the government has generally been very supportive of this industry.
But it's not a free ride. The very real element of risk was ever present. Marketing, low product prices, crop volume, all contributed to many sleepless nights.
One of the big problems we had initially was we never had a buyer for the berries in the province. And it was, what do we do with them? Where do we ship them? How do we ship them out of the province? We've got small crops. You couldn't use, tractor trailers. It was, your crop was not big enough for that. It was mostly about having a buyer, and the price when we started was really low. And that was my biggest challenge, I think. And I had my doubts about it for a couple of years. Was tempted to say enough of this. This is foolishness. But I decided maybe it wasn't.
With 10 acres in production and a further 40 acres devoted strictly to cranberries, there's still a lot of work to do. Walter gives us a short lesson on how it all comes about.
Get your site layout for your peat, for your bog, and lay out where your canals and your ditches, your water supply and everything is. You go in with equipment. If the bog is real soft, you got to work on large pads on your excavator. Our bog is fairly solid. We have a small excavator, and it seems to work. You seem to be able to work that thing without pads, and you get the laser equipment set up on it, and you basically create almost a perfectly flat site with your dikes around the outside. So the material you take from the center, you pile on the outside. That creates your dike for water containment. Then you wait till that freezes in the winter, and you bring in about 6 inches of sand. That again is spread with a laser level, so everything is as smooth, as level as you can get it. And from there you just you plant your beds in the following spring.
Watching a cranberry harvest is a joy to behold. On a fine day, it all seems so easy. The berries are knocked off their bushes, they float to the top and are easily corralled onto a conveyor belt. Then they're fed into storage bags and neatly stacked for access and transport. And then it's off for processing. What was once a large problem now has been solved by shipping the cranberries to Indian Bay. So what's the outlook for the cranberry industry?
There's lots of room for entrance into this business. We don't have an industry yet. It's really just in its infancy. It is developing. There's lots of interest in the province through some of the fish processors. Ocean Spray is coming in looking at what's available here and what they might be able to do to facilitate the development of the industry. And it's not something, you're not fighting with other growers for the local market. This is, this is a commodity that's sold worldwide, and our berries have ended up in Europe, in the UK and Germany, and they also get shipped into Quebec for processing. And hopefully when they leave Newfoundland in 10 years' time, there'll be a UPC code attached, and the final processing will be done.
Now there is an opportunity waiting to be exploited by more Newfoundland farmers. We're off to another quick commercial break, but when we return, it's off to Griquet on the Northern Peninsula, where berries form the basis of a very successful business. Welcome back to Breaking Ground. As promised, we're off to Griquet on the Northern Peninsula to visit a business that is based on berries.
This jar of partridge berry jam represents years of evolution. The process began with the single basic production of a jar of jam, then to the marketing of additional berry-related products, and the development of a boutique that sells a wide variety of Newfoundland products. And last but not least, the exploitation of educational tourism, which highlights the botany, geology, and history of the Great Northern Peninsula. It's been a long, winding, evolutionary road that both Steve Knudsen and his wife Gwendolyn have traveled. Connected to the family fishing business that went back to the 1920s, Steve explains how the opening of the Lansom Meadows Viking site brought tourists to the area and to their general store in Griquet.
And people were traveling on their way to Lansom Meadows, and they were dropping in this general store and asking questions about bake apples and partridge berries. So that kind of started the whole process off, where we tried to not only answer their questions but try to find products that we could sell to them. And at that time we couldn't find any, so this was a period of thought, maybe over several years, and eventually it culminated in us starting to do it ourselves.
The distinctive quality of the dark tickle products stood on its own and naturally drew some attention. But while at a trade fair on the mainland, they were approached by the Ecomusée network based in Quebec.
When we market, we used to do trade shows, Toronto, whatever, Halifax, and we were actually approached by this network. And when they came into our booth, they actually had done all their homework. They knew about us, they knew our products, they knew we were in Newfoundland and all, and they wanted to know if we'd be interested in this concept that they had, which was kind of promoting and highlighting traditional skills or crafts, and of which what we do would be, because a lot of the recipes were very traditional, and to see how we felt about it. And as with that group came some skills, expertise in terms of research to help you set up the panels, for instance, that you kind of see on the walls here. So they help us go through that process. As
the customer base grew, so did the questions and interests that the customers brought with them. So the concept of educational tourism became a reality for the small community that surrounded the town of Griquet.
Where we're targeting is educational tourism, which we'd mentioned previously, and it's kind of a unique expression of or interpretation of wild berries, we think, and the feedback is that it seems to be so. But if I look at where this area is going, we all know what's happened to the fishery, which has completely collapsed, and we all have questions about what's going to happen in rural Newfoundland and rural Labrador. One of the things that have been done over the years as part of groups is to try and evaluate key assets in the area, and one is history, landscape metals. I mean, that's unquestioned. But also the botany in this area is extremely unusual. You look at Burnt Cape and Raleigh, for instance, and so there's flowers growing here or plants that don't grow anywhere else in the world, or at least haven't been identified anywhere else in the world. We know that the geology is special, and there's some things happening geologically that don't happen anywhere else in the world. We know that the marine biology, you know, they talk about the diversity of whales, and for instance in this area, if you speak to like John Lean Memorial, he'll indicate to her, you know, just how special the resource is that we have here compared to other areas in the world, because we always look at British Columbia or we look at Hawaii or whatever it is and say, well, they're so much better off, but they're not. We are, and it's all here.
Yes, it's all here and right on our doorstep. And to further prove that point, the Knudsens developed a boardwalk right beside their premises for an educational tour that highlights the botany, geology, and history of the area. This abbreviated version of the walk gives us an idea of what to expect.
When we talk about bake apples, for instance, this is the bake apple bog, so we like to bring people out here and actually show them what a bog looks like, and you can see that it's extremely spongy. And part of that is not only showing them the context in which the berries grow and how close to the ground they are, but we really talk a little bit about the type of peat, you know, the sphagnum moss and the medicinal uses. We talk about the lack of nutrients in the bog, and that there's things like sundew that actually eat insects because of the lack of nutrients. We talk about Labrador tea and how that could actually be steeped into a tea for its medicinal properties. We were talking about how this whole process has evolved. We talk about not just the 5 wild berries of dark tickle, but we also talk about the other trees and plants. We take a look at the alder, for instance, which is a mountain alder versus a speckled alder. We explain to people the differences between the spruce tree and the balsam fir. But we also, on the lookout, we also kind of introduce them a little bit to the local history as part, when I say local history, as part of the French treaty shore, for instance. And then we're able to point out some geological items. For instance, we look at the White Hills and we know that's the same type of materials in the tablelands in Gros Morne. So we kind of point that out as well. And a little discussion about the history, the French history of St. Lunaire Bay. What we try to highlight to visitors to Dark Tickle is that it's not just about the 5 wild berries, but it's about landscape, it's about history, it's about geology, it's about a lot of different information, and hopefully giving them some knowledge of what we're all about.
So, from the lowly berry that's so common on our barrens, a sophisticated business has been built that includes berry picking, value-added, marketing, and educational tourism. Ideas that give us something to think about when we take a closer look at the natural gifts Newfoundland and Labrador has been given.
They make running a business look so easy, but you can rest assured a lot of hard work has gone into making it work. Now it's one more commercial break, and we're back with Ann Budgell and Chef Kitty Drake. And now we're off to the kitchen with Ann Budgell and Chef Kitty Drake.
Well, I'm standing here admiring something that officially is called dessert, but I think it could actually qualify as a main course. I'm Ann Budgell, welcome to my kitchen, and Kitty Drake is here with me. She's
Hi.
a former chef and cooking consultant, and this is her creation.
Yes.
Tell us all about this big thing.
This is what I call a Newfoundland rum pot bread pudding. And it has a Newfoundland rum pot, which is right here. And this is blueberries and partridge berries covered in screech and just left sitting on my counter continually to be thrown into this or that.
Ooh.
So I decided that bread pudding was the perfect thing to put some rum and some berries in.
Well, it looks to me like the well-rounded food because it's got all the major food groups
Well,
represented.
I have to tell you, Ann, I eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner sometimes, and I have a carrot for dessert.
And you can even slice it for sandwiches.
Well, you could. You could. And, of course, you can drink it.
All right, well, food that we love and love to talk about. So how do we make this?
Okay, well, you start with day-old bread again, and this time it doesn't just have to be white bread. It can be a sweet bread.
Raisin bread?
Raisin bread, absolutely. Rum and raisins, why not? And you cube it.
She's done that already.
Right.
And did a beautiful job, I must say.
Now we will mix up. Here you go, Ann. You're into the mixing part.
Cubing.
Done cubing.
Okay.
You're a cubist.
All right.
And
Leave this here.
yes,
right?
leave
okay.
that there.
Leave that there.
And now put in 2 whole eggs and 2 egg yolks.
All
The
right.
egg yolks make it richer.
4 yolks and 2 whites is what we have there.
That's-
Okay.
I'll take that from you.
All right.
And 2/3 of a cup of sugar.
Let's go.
Okay. And I'll take that. And 2/3 of a cup of cream, 35% cream.
The real
Newfoundland-
thing.
Newfoundland cream. And 2 2/3, I'll just get around you there. 2 2/3 cup of Newfoundland whole milk. See, it is a health food. My goodness.
Calcium, protein, vitamins, minerals,
And then a teaspoon and a half of
vanilla.
vanilla. Okay, just get that all nicely mixed up. And we're ready to pour it into the
Okay.
bread.
Okay, so the bread stays in the big thing.
Yes, that bread stays in the big thing, and we pour this right over the top. Now, Ann, as you can see, the bread's come up, but push that bread
Punch it
right
down. We want every
in.
bit of bread to
Yes.
soak up.
Yes,
the
I
milk
don't
and egg.
really want any liquid left, which is why when I make my bread pudding, I soak the bread overnight.
What happened here?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, what happened there? Wait. Well, let's just get that bread out of there. Here, let's use that.
Yeah.
Use that to push it down.
I will. So this is something that Kitty does differently, you know, because a lot of people will start the bread pudding now and they're going
Yes.
to cook it tonight and eat it tonight.
Right.
Not what you do.
No, I like my bread pudding to have no separation between the bread and the custard. So the bread has to soak everything up.
Okay, let's soak this.
So I let it sit overnight.
So what are you going to do now?
You're going to cover this and with saran wrap.
All right.
Okay.
Push down on the
Yes,
wrap?
push right down on the bread because we want to make sure that there's no dry pieces of bread.
right.
I don't like dry pieces of bread, and I don't like separation. Now put that in the refrigerator overnight.
All right, this is gone.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next part because
She's got one done already.
I
you
just
see.
happened
This is soaked already.
to have one soaked up mess of bread. And now for the rum pot. And we need 1/2 a cup of rum saturated berries. At least 1/2 a cup.
I think we should do a whole show on what you do with the liquid after she takes the berries out.
Well, I'll show you what I'm going to do with that liquid, Ann. We need 1/2 a cup of liquid too.
That smells good.
Well, rum and berries, what more could you ask for? Eggs and milk. There you go.
All right, maybe you shouldn't serve this to the youngsters for breakfast.
Okay, just sort of stir that up loosely. Now this one's turning a nice color because the longer the berries are in the rum, the more the color comes out. So we're going to
Okay.
have kind of a nice lavender.
Now, Kitty's got a
pudding.
nice buttered
That's
dish.
This is buttered.
Yeah.
And then you can just pour that
I'm going
in
to
there.
dump this in.
That's right. And we just smooth that around. Okay. There we go. And if you could lift that up. When you bake this, put it in a pan that's slightly larger than the pan that you had the bread and butter pudding in, and then fill it up with boiling water about halfway, and then put it in an oven, 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes.
And
then,
with all those eggs, it should set up really nicely.
oh yes, it sets up very nicely, as you can see.
Well, there. Let's go to the finished product,
Oh,
Kitty.
well,
I'm going to just
okay.
put this one over here.
Okay.
And I want to see, because that is quite the pud.
That's the pud.
Yum!
Now, if you wanted to get really fancy, you could serve this warm, or you could serve it cold with a nice warm English custard sauce. Is that a main source of?
It's really good. It's not dry at all. It's moist all the way through. The berries are still popping, and there's a lovely flavor of rum.
Well, put more people
I think
want.
I like it.
I think so too.
Okay, well that's a total success, Kitty.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Good or what? Well, there's more where that came from. Next week, we're off to the West Coast, where we will have a close look at the school vegetable program at C.C. Loughlin in Corner Brook. It's a highly successful venture that benefits everyone who gets involved with it. Ever go to your local supermarket and have trouble finding fresh local produce? Well, efforts by both government and the agricultural industry are being put into place to alleviate that problem. A market logo has been developed to highlight fresh, secure provincial produce. And next week, Ann Budgell will have Chef Brian Abbott of Restaurant 21. Brian always makes it a point of using fresh local produce to enhance a meal. He will show us why it's so important to use fresh vegetables and meats. Well, that's it. Hope you can join us next week for more Breaking Ground. See you later.